Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. So I wanted to bring you another video about a recent experience that I had and a few of the things that I learned from the experience. So recently I was flying back from California and I ended up so I was stuck there for several hours because there was a dust storm in Las Vegas. I really did not know about the dust storm, but thinking about it, it makes sense because it's similar to being in the desert. It would be like a sandstorm, and it probably could be pretty bad and interfere with visibility and things like that, so you wouldn't be able to see. And for a pilot, I'm sure it would really influence whether they could fly or not because you have to be able to see to fly, of course. So we're there for several hours, and at first, in the beginning, they tell you, oh, it'll be an hour, and they say it'll be 2 hours, and they said it'll be 3 hours, and then they'll say, okay, it'll be 4, and it just kept going. And then, so I'm just hanging out, taking a walk. I eat my food and all that, and then I hear it's delayed again and again and again. And we were supposed to leave there 5 something. We ended up leaving almost 1 a.m. And furthermore, so as we're on the plane, they told us, okay, we're about to board, we're going to take off. Okay. So they gave the pilot the go ahead, and then we get on the runway, and then they're telling him, we can't go. We have to come back. So we all go back, of course, on the plane. And then they say, well, you could get off, it's going to be at least an hour. Go ahead. And so get off. And I was asking about my end destination because they were saying I was the only one that would be going. And um, the flight the pilot was saying, well, the flight might be late, but he was seeing, that it was on time. So you might want to book a different flight because you won't catch that flight because our flight was supposed to come in a few minutes after that flight was to take off. So there's no way I could make it from, where I was, the gates, to where I was supposed to go, the gate. So um, unless I could go back in time, but that's another story for another day. So, um, so when I asked about it, they said, well, you should probably talk to this, person to book the flight. I said, okay. Went and talked to her. She was booking someone else's flight. They were chatting and all that. And, so she came to me and she said, yeah, you're not going to miss that connecting flight, so I'll just take you off this flight altogether. I'm like, wait, what's the earliest flight that I could catch here in California where I am? Oh, tomorrow evening at 7 something. I was like, oh no, 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 I'm not staying here again. Let me, I'm going. I'm going to Vegas when that flight happens because she had said, she was going to take my luggage off the plane, have them take my luggage off. And I was like, wait, like I said, I asked, well, when's the earliest flight? She said the next day, 7 something p.m. And I said, no, I'm going to Vegas. I don't know why I need to get there, but I'm going. And I'm going to figure it out from there. Because in my mind, I was thinking I might be able to catch me a flight that night to get out and go home. So, to my end destination. So, she had to print me another boarding pass. Finally, printed the boarding pass, and then um, made sure my luggage was still in the plane. The girls that were there at the gate were kind of mad because they're like, they're going back and forth. But I'm thinking to myself, you must not have ever been in a situation like this where you got a layover, you got stuck here, and you got stuff to do. You work here. So you have no idea what it's like to have to find a way to get back to where you stay and to get back to where you work. You have no idea. So, but I'm thinking to myself, people just have some understanding, because in a situation like this, you need to just stop and think. All these things that people have to consider and the reason why they might change their mind about the flight. So we get back on the plane and they're still, holding it up. We can't leave until all the people in the manifest raise their hand. Um, and we're gonna call first. They called certain names and they said no, we'll call everyone's name. They called everyone's name. They didn't even call my name. And the guy, there was another guy who I was talking to later who was saying they didn't call my name either, but I was going. I was like, okay. um so everybody, I think a couple people raised their hand a couple times. Yeah, I think they were just like, whatever, let's just go. So we ended up finally leaving, and I didn't say anything. I think the other people didn't say anything either. And finally got on the runway, took off. Now, they had warned us the first time that we were going to take off that there will be turbulence throughout the flight. And so it wouldn't be safe for us to get up. Flight attendants were going to sit down as well. And in this case, they were asking everyone to remain seated still when we finally did take off. And there was some turbulence, but it wasn't too bad. And we could still see what remained of the storm. There was still a little bit, dust and stuff. And I'm like, why does it look dusty? I didn't know at the time that it was a dust storm until I got to Vegas. So there was a dust storm. The lady in front of me that was pregnant, and she ended up getting pretty sick once we landed. But I was looking out the window most of the time. At first, I was sitting by the aisle, and then I moved over so I could see what was going on outside. And when I did, I could see, like I said, the storm, what remained of it, and I could see, you know, everything out the window and then the clouds and everything. And then once we got to Vegas, I could see all the lights. Everything was lit up. It was so beautiful. And I was glad that I moved over to the window so I could see all of those things. And I never did close the window. I left it open because I wanted to see what was going on. The girl in front of me would open it, close it, open it, close it. And I think it was kind of scary to her to to be able to see the storm and what was going on. And for me, I was just like, nah, just it didn't bother me. I just want to know what's going on. I would rather know than not know what's going on so I can know what I'm getting into. So we finally got there. And now, mind you, the lady at the booking place had said, well, if you don't book here, I don't know. Excuse me, I don't know. They might charge you to book there. And in my mind, I was like, no, they're not about to charge me anything because it's their fault that I missed this flight. So I get there and get my luggage and then go up to book my flight. And then when I get up there, there's, a little bit of, back and forth with them because they're like, oh, you need to take that picture of that QR code and then, you could book and whatever. And I was like, okay, fine. Took the picture of the QR code, got in line, and then the one person that was helping everyone, I think, got overwhelmed and didn't know what she was doing exactly because I ended up in another line. Another guy ended up helping me and got me the flight. And because the girl next to him was saying, oh, there's not a flight out of here until Friday morning. I was like, huh? And the guy was like, no, tomorrow night, which was Wednesday night, there was a flight out, which I didn't want that either, but it was the earliest one I could get. So I said, okay, that was okay. He booked that flight. And then I was asking about the voucher for the food and the hotel. And so I, they said, we'll email it to you if anything becomes available. They never did, but one of the guys that I was talking to, he ended up getting a food voucher, um, and a voucher for travel as well. So let me see. I'll end it for now is what I'll do. And I'll continue this. So the next part will be part two of the Vegas debacle. That turned out to be actually a blessing. Um, all right, so I'll end for now. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to create a part two of this video. It's a pretty interesting experience that I had, so I want to tell you about the rest of it. All right, y'all. Love y'all. Talk to y'all later. All right. Bye for now.